Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Jacob.
So this is going to be a start of something a little different.
A little different.
Every month, I kind of want to just sit down and have a conversation with you about all the movies that we watched together and apart this month. Just to get both of our thoughts on it, talk about something other than new releases, doing something a little less rigid, a little more, sit down and talk. And for, you can't be in every video and every review, so it gives you time to give your thoughts on stuff I've already reviewed.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I started off this, and that's basically how the rules work here. No, nothing else. We're just going to give like a score rating. Spoilers are definitely allowed. And we're just going to tell you a little bit about each movie and what we thought about it. So I started off the month with American Gangster. I thought it was pretty good. It's a Ridley Scott like crime thriller, and it doesn't offer much else outside of like the standard fare, I think, for crime thrillers. It was interesting. It was fun to follow. Denzel's great in it. Tells a pretty cool real life story. But other than that, nothing too special. A 3.5 out of 5. And then the next movie we watched together, it was Anora. So I already gave my in-depth thoughts on Anora. So Cameron, the floor is yours.
Jake and I gave Anora the same rating. We gave it 4 stars, and it was, we went into the city and stuff and saw it, and it was special, and it was really good. The theater was awesome, and it made the movie more immersive, and we were in it, and the first half I really loved. I was very invested in this love story, and I thought, it was very real and honest. I mean, as far as I know, because I don't know much about that kind of stuff. But the second half, or maybe the third
act.
The third act was a little, I don't know. I mean, I very much appreciated being able to follow and feel what the main character is feeling, but it was not good feelings, and it got a little frustrating at points with just how they were kind of drawing out the humor in the movie without, getting to the point. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars.
Very cool. So then I watched, we watched Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring together. Cam fell asleep while I finished it.
Oh, did I?
Yes, you did, but that's okay. An obvious masterpiece. I mean, I've been on a real fantasy kick after finishing Game of Thrones last month, and this movie never disappoints. It's probably objectively the best Lord of the Rings movie. It's not my favorite one, but I do think it stands in a league above its own to almost any other piece of fantasy media. So, there was that. And then
I wish I hadn't fallen asleep during that.
It's really good.
Me and Jake were trying to watch all the Lord of the Rings movies, and I don't know if I have it in me. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and then they're very long movies, so I don't blame you for falling asleep.
Yeah, it wasn't holding my attention like I wanted it to.
We're also watching it pretty late.
Yeah.
So, anyway, nothing too much to say there. Then we watched the Poughkeepsie Tapes, another movie Cam fell asleep in the middle of.
Yeah,
and
I wasn't there.
This movie I couldn't stand. It was a found footage serial killer mockumentary style horror movie, and I hated it. I think that the bones of a really good movie could have been here, the bones of a really scary movie, but this gave me nothing. Honestly, it was just focused on showing us as much debauchery and disgusting shit as it possibly could, that I don't know, it takes away from the horror, where it's not even scary anymore and it just becomes disgusting. It just becomes gross.
I woke up at one point and I was like, what are you watching? And he's like, same movie.
Yeah. I liked the idea of it being a documentary, a mockumentary, and I don't know, it misses the point of what makes investigative thrillers so good. And that's all I have to say about that. 1 out of 5 for Poughkeepsie Tapes. Really was disappointed by that one. And then we saw Heretic, which obviously I already covered, and I'm going to give the floor to Cam.
I liked Heretic more than Jake liked Heretic. I thought it was really interesting and captivating and, like, a really good story. Like, I feel like a lot of movies that I've watched, I don't like how they do the story, you know? Where it's like the twist is not really a twist, or it's like predictable. I feel like I can predict so many endings or twists to movies recently, and it just kills the vibe, you know? But Heretic got me. It actually got me. And I really enjoyed it. I loved the main actresses, mainly the girl with the dark hair. What's her name?
I'll look that up for you.
IDK. But she's cute. I like her. Sophie Thatcher.
Sophie Thatcher.
She's in something else, but she did like an interview about the
She's
movie.
in Maxine and The Boogeyman.
Oh.
Both not good movies, but okay.
So yeah, thank you, Heretic. So good.
Would you rate it?
4.5.
All right. Then we watched My Old Ass. I really liked this movie. I thought the marketing was atrocious. It really made this movie seem obnoxious, but it actually came from a place of genuine like sweetness, and it was just a very wholesome movie that felt quiet and felt reflective, and never forced the humor, the generational humor, which was, we got a lot of that in the trailer. It was pretty much almost every scene with Aubrey Plaza and the main character was in the trailer, and I feel like that part of the movie became a little insignificant in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the entire thing where, she just sees her future self the entire time and they go on this like misadventure together. It's more about, familiar stuff and growing up, in that transition phase between becoming an adult and still being a kid. It had a lot of poignant things to say. It got really emotional at the end. Cam can tell you that.
It was horrible.
And I don't know. I really, really found this movie to be surprising. I think it was way better than it had any right to be from that atrocious marketing.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch it at all. But afterwards, I definitely cried. It was very emotional. And, I mean, I found, like, the characters and some of, like, the writing and stuff to be, like, it kind of irked me. It was, excuse me, any movie that emulates Gen Z is, I'm like, ugh, stop, because it's, like, I find it a little cringy, but, like, the story was there, the emotion was there, and it was a 3.5 for me.
And I concur. It was also a 3.5 for me as well. Then we watched Anchorman, and this is a movie that I was going back into being like, oh, I remember this being funny when I watched it in like 6th or 7th grade, and then revisiting these kinds of comedies like this one, Talladega Nights, Adam McKay stuff. It's painfully unfunny. It is painfully just very... It's kind of like watching a compilation of the worst SNL skits from the earlier 2000s and clumping them all together with a loose plot. I really found little to no enjoyment out of Anchorman. I don't know. This movie just was not clicking for me at all. I think I just have grown out of this kind of film. And not to say, that Will Ferrell isn't talented and he's not funny, because he can be. This movie is just not a good example of it, and I gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
I really just hate the screaming comedy. Like, loud does not equal funny, and it just, oh my god, like, we were watching it, and I was like, can we just turn this off? It's gave me nothing. But I gave it 3 stars. So I guess I liked it a little bit.
Cam sometimes has this problem with rating things that where she doesn't really know how a rating scale works, and I feel like you just like throw a number on it, and that's okay.
I go with my heart.
Anyway,
I made you yawn.
yeah, you did. So the next movie we watched was called Happiness. This was a Criterion movie that I've been wanting to watch for a really long time now. Seeing the cover photo, or not the cover, the poster, and the director's other work, I really enjoy late 90s satirical movies. I think that stuff like this and like But I'm a Cheerleader all are in the same kind of vein, and they all work really well. And Happiness really worked for me. I thought it was an incredibly biting and disturbing satire that could genuinely pull funny moments out of disgusting and completely immoral things. It takes this really great balance in tone of taking itself, like the characters taking themselves so utterly seriously that you can't help but laugh, even though there are these, you know, dark underlying themes and really just gross moments. They come off as pretty funny because of how absurdly awful this entire story is from like a moral perspective. I thought the direction was really creative. I loved the little musical motifs that played in and out. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in this thing. Definitely not an easy watch by any means. I don't think I'll ever be revisiting it just because of how hard it is to get through some of these sequences. But it is definitely an achievement and definitely one of the better social commentaries to come out of this time. Cameron? 4.5 out of 5 for Todd Solondz. I think that's how you say his name. Movie Happiness.
It was really rough. I liked it from an objective standpoint, but I did not. Like, I was uncomfortable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that's exactly what it's supposed to make you, you know? If you're comfortable watching stuff like that, then you're probably a psycho. You're
part of the problem that the movie's making fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I realized Dylan Baker, the, like, perv dad, is he the Green Goblin?
No, he is not the Green Goblin.
Oh.
The Green Goblin is Willem Dafoe.
Wait, I thought, because he's in Spider-Man 2 and 3.
The Green Goblin is in neither of those movies. He's in Spider-Man 1.
Oh.
He's the evil principal from Trick or Treat.
But he's in Spider-Man. I thought he was the Green Goblin.
He's just a guy in Spider-Man.
What the heck? Alright. Never mind. I was sitting there like, oh, no wonder I hated him.
No, Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin.
And I knew that.
Yeah.
Like, I know who that is.
It's
okay, well, I gave this movie a 3.5. Thank you.
Alright. Next one I watched by myself, and that is Don John. The one and only movie directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
King.
And he did a pretty good job. This movie brings up a lot of interesting conversation about romanticism and rom-coms specifically, and like the tropes that, you know, involve themselves with that. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt has kind of made a career for himself doing those kinds of movies. Like, obviously 500 Days of Summer is the best example of that, and that movie's incredible. With this one, I feel like it makes a couple of mistakes that make the movie less riveting. It can be pretty repetitive in its direction, which was very obvious, like a stylistic choice, but I felt it to be kind of meandering at times. I feel like it was kind of like every time he didn't know how to end a sequence, or every single time that there was a little bit of dramatic tension felt, he kind of reverted back to doing, you know, these like idiosyncratic sequences, and it felt pretty bland after a while. It felt samey, and I feel like he needed to, you know, keep the movie chugging along a little bit more, even though it is pretty short. We get some really good performances from not only himself, but Julianne Moore and Scarlett Johansson both do really great in it. I like what it has to say about certain things, and yeah, I just think it's an interesting watch. Not the best movie in the world. It definitely has its issues, but I do think it's worth checking out at least once. And I gave it a strong 3 out of 5. I liked it.
Very nice.
And then the next movie we watched was A Real Pain, which I obviously already gave my thoughts on, so I'm just going to give the microphone over to Cameron.
Guess what? I was in the video too.
Yeah, you were, now that I'm thinking about it. So we already gave our in-depth thoughts on that movie, so no need to revisit that here.
Yeah, I had nothing for you. 4.5.
We both loved it. It was both fantastic. Then I watched Cure, and I adored this movie. Cameron, once again, fell asleep, which is okay.
Did I?
Yes.
What is it?
Cure was the Japanese horror movie that I watched.
Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't interested in that at all.
So, this is my kind of horror movie. It gets under your skin and is so... I like that it's so disquieting and so cerebral with its scariness. Like, it just sinks its teeth in and slowly gets you into its grasp. And then by the time you are out of its grasp, you don't realize what's happening, and then, everything goes to shit. It's just so expertly crafted and so well managed and directed and written. It really just lingers with you after watching it, and it is truly a masterpiece. I absolutely adored this movie. So I gave Cure a 5 out of 5. Certainly, probably the best thing I watched all month. I really, really loved it. It's my kind of horror movie, and I really recommend you all watch it. And then the next movie is Iron Man. And I think we're gonna save our thoughts on the MCU until we finish it. How does that sound to you?
That sounds good.
Yeah, just because I want to do a re-ranking. So if some of you probably won't know this, but my first ever video for my channel was a tier list ranking of all of the MCU movies, and while we're still going to keep that up, that movie is very out of date, very bad for one, and just not my opinions on most of the movies anymore. So me and Cameron are going through all of them and watching them. For her, for most of them, the first time. So me and her are going to do that together. I'm going to save my thoughts on all of those. I also watched Watchmen just because I had a night free and I wanted to check it out. It's a stupid movie, but I really like it. I think it's Zack Snyder doing his shtick the best. So, yeah, I like the Watchmen movie, 3.5 out of 5. And then Gladiator 2 is where I'm going to pass it over to Cameron, because I obviously already gave my thoughts on that movie.
Right. I liked it. I don't have anything really to say about it, because to me it felt very straightforward. I mean, like, there were messages in the movie and that kind of thing, but none of them spoke to me. It was very, very boy movie, which is totally fine, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just here to watch some guys get eaten by lions and stabbed and for the drama. I'll tell you this much, though. The casting was great.
Yeah.
Yep, Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal.
Mescal. I
think it's Mescal.
No, I think it's Mescal. Pretty sure.
I don't feel that that's correct.
I think it's right.
Anyway, they did right by them. That's
and
for sure.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah, but Denzel... I'm talking about, like, sexy factor.
Okay, Jesus Christ.
That's, I'm just saying, like...
No, I understand that that's part of the appeal of the movie.
But that's the thing, like, it was kind of so smart for them to cast, like, the white boys of the month, because...
Pedro Pascal's not white.
You know what I mean.
I know, I'm messing with you, I'm
sorry. But, like... Because then they could draw in this whole other demographic of, like, thirsty girls, Because, like, the only girls that are going to watch that movie are with their boyfriends. Me. So, smart. And I gave it... Oh.
You gave it 4 out of 5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was so good, but that's all.
Right. So then I watched 7 Days in Hell. This was a HBO original, like, mockumentary type thing, brought to you, written and directed by the guys from The Lonely Island. Obviously, Andy Samberg was in it, and the guy who plays Jon Snow from Game of Thrones is in it, and it was hilarious. It was a documentary about the longest tennis match in Wimbledon history, but it was fake. It whatchamacallit, it was fictional. So they obviously all the events were made up, and it really ran with making fun of sports documentaries, and infusing that kind of humor into the mockumentary styles always worked for me. Like, I love Pop Star Never Stop Stopping. Very obviously, this kind of felt like the catalyst for that movie. I wrote in my letterbox that this movie walked so that challengers could run, and I feel like that really resonates. So yeah, it's a fun watch. It's only 45 minutes long. It's super short. Everybody involved is buying into the concept as hard as they can. The guy who plays Jon Snow is legitimately hilarious throughout the entire movie. So, yeah, that was a really fun watch. I really enjoyed my time with it. Then we watched The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2. I rewatched How the Grinch Stole Christmas with my sister, the Jim Carrey one, and yeah,
so scary.
And then Thor, and then Captain America: The First Avenger. So yeah, obviously we're not giving our thoughts on and The Avengers. Sorry, I forgot we watched that.
So sorry.
Yeah, so that's it. That is all of the movies that we watched this month. Cam, let's give our favorites and least favorites that we watched this month. I'm going to give my favorite movie to Cure. I think that was easily the best thing I watched all month. And the worst thing I watched all month was the Poughkeepsie Tapes. I hated that movie. Your turn.
Okay, well, I rated A Real Pain and Heretic both 4.5, and I feel like, because A Real Pain by far is my favorite of the month over Heretic, and Jake's being weird.
I'm not being weird.
So I probably have to change that around, but A Real Pain...
They can be the same.
Yeah, but that's making me realize I liked A Real Pain more.
Like a lot more?
Yeah, like by far.
Yeah.
So A Real Pain, super awesome. Least favorite of the month, any of the movies I fell asleep during. So yeah.
Oh, I don't really count those because I don't feel like you watched them. You know what I mean?
Well, then The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
What? I kind of enjoyed it though. I don't know why I rated it so low. Whatever.
What about Anchorman?
Ugh, that one.
All right.
Like, everybody that was in that cast besides Steve Carell can go die.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that.
Alrighty, so that was our thoughts on all the movies we watched this month. I just wanted to do something more lighthearted, more just an excuse for me to talk to Cam because I love her very much.
Me.
And I like talking about movies with her. So yeah, let us know what you think of this little format. If you want to see it more often, we probably will, just once a month talk about all the movies we saw. And I will see you guys with the next review. We got a lot of stuff coming out in December, like a lot. So lots to look forward to. We have Nosferatu. We have Baby Girl. We have A Complete Unknown. We have Y2K. We have Queer. We have there's another one that I really want to see that I'm forgetting. But a lot of movies to end out the year. So 2024 is looking like to save all of its big guns for the end. So yeah,
it's a Christmas miracle.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jake.
And I'm Cam.
And we'll see you next month.